YouTube, if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment down below. Really appreciate it. Now, what are we doing here? All right, we're here. We're gonna react to this top 5 things you didn't know about MLK with Louder with Crowder, which you didn't know. Steven Crowder, he ran away from Sam Cedar because he's scared of Sam Cedar because Steven Crowder is a coward, and I do not like him. Poisoning the well here a bit, but this pretty much shows to me how conservatives always act like they like MLK, but they never did. They never enjoyed him. If you ever look back in like the past 20 years, maybe plus even more, conservatives always like made it seem like MLK was like the best person ever. The way he went about civil rights and the way he protested for civil rights. They put it in the face of people trying to protest civil rights right now and calling those people bad. You should look at MLK, you should do what MLK does. But if you actually know anything about MLK, you should know that Black Lives Matter, everything that happened with that, actually would be liked by MLK, and MLK will actually enjoy that shit. So, again, don't like Steven Crowder, and I think this shows, this gives a reason and shows that conservatives never ever like MLK. They just pretended to. But before we get started, what do I think of MLK? Overall, I really like him. I don't like him as much as Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, when Malcolm X is older, when he disassociates from the the Nation of Islam. I really like that Malcolm X. And then I don't know too much about Huey P. Newton, but the more and more I read about him, the more and more I enjoy about him. So I got to read more of his works. I got to read more of his articles about him and watch videos if he has videos about his speeches and what he has to say. But what I know about Huey P. Newton right now, I really, really like him. I really enjoy him more than MLK. But overall, MLK, like him as a person. Well, I like him more for what he did and what he stood for than I like him as a person. But yeah, let's get started and see top 5 things you didn't know about MLK. But the title's wrong. It should be called Top 5 Things That Steven Crowder Does Not Like About MLK. And these top 5 things are bullshit. And we'll get into it.
Unfortunately, MLK did change as well. Let me be really clear about this. I like a lot of what MLK Jr. had to say. I certainly think...
But he doesn't really give a single example of all the shit that he likes about MLK. He doesn't.
That his speech has been, pardon my language, shit on by today's left, where he talked about the content of character. Yeah. These were values that we...
That's not true at all. If you actually read his books, especially this book over here, Where Do We Go From Here? This book right here, you can see that the left now is actually follows what MLK actually stood for. So he's wrong right here. And actually, the right-leaning, especially Steven Crowder, it actually shits all over MLK and what he stood for and what he says. Because I guarantee Steven Crowder probably never, ever read a single book, or read a single speech other than maybe I Have a Dream speech that MLK said or wrote.
We would all align ourselves with. Yeah. However, MLK did become far more radical as life went on, and there's a lot.
He did become a bit more radical, but he was always radical. You know, if MLK was alive today and he's thought exactly like he did in the past, and he's actually like fighting civil rights to this day, conservatives and definitely Steven Crowder would not like him. They'll call him too radical. They'll call him dangerous. They'll call him turning the races against each other and disturbing the peace. That is exactly what they'll call him. Steven Crowder would hate MLK because Steven Crowder is a racist idiot.
A lot that you don't know about him.
And this video shows you why.
MLK Jr. And I want to be clear, there are values, of course, that he espoused that we agree with. Yeah. But the man was flawed, like a lot of men.
Again, he never puts up any
national holiday while you're tearing down statues of people who fought against slavery, like Abraham Lincoln, or even people who freed slaves upon...
Again, Abraham Lincoln did, okay? He did fight against slavery and did free the slaves. However, Abraham Lincoln did not see black people at the same level as white people. He thought white people were better than black people. So I feel like that is a decent reason enough to not like Abraham Lincoln enough. You can appreciate that he did help end slavery, but again, he did not like black people. He thought black people were lesser people than white people.
On their death, we're talking about George Washington or Jefferson.
And one right here, I actually looked this up. Thomas Jefferson. He said, if you didn't hear, Stephen Crowder said that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington freed their slaves after they died. And see, let's look this up. Thomas Jefferson freed his slaves when he died. It says right here. Jefferson, okay. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, owned more than 600 people during some periods of his adult life. Jefferson freed 2 of his slaves while he lived. 7 others were freed after his death. So only 9 out of 600 of his slaves. So only 9 people out of 600 people actually got freed. So he is lying right here. And then when it comes to George Washington, did George Washington free his slaves? Now I saw like multiple things about this, different things about this. They said, this one says that Washington made the decision to free all his enslaved people he owned in his 1799 will. But then over here it said, was it that one? By the time George Washington died, he owned 123 enslaved people outright. After Washington's death, Martha, his wife, freed just one person, William Lee, a Revolutionary War celebrity who was the only enslaved person. George said he should immediately be given his freedom. So over here says that he only freed one person, one of his slaves, and that's it. So again, I'm seeing mixed shit here, but overall, you should not be given credit for saying the ills of your wills after you died. You know, I feel like these people would be way happier if they're, you know, freed way before you died when you're still alive, you know. But yeah, there's Steven Crowder and his lying.
Then you can't have a statue and you can't have an MLK Jr. Day, because what I'm about to tell you is a lot worse.
It's not. It's weird how he thinks the top 5 things he's about to put up. One of them it's bad, but we don't know if it's 100% true. Everything else he says about the top 5 things is nowhere near as bad as owning slaves. Nowhere near as bad. You can tell his racism here about how, you know, all the shit he says, and then like trying to equate the two, which is nowhere near as bad as owning slaves.
Know this. Yeah, and everything.
But also, you're gonna be cringing so hard in this, because if you did not know, Steven Crowder is a failed comedian. He tried to do stand-up comedy. No one liked his shit because he's not funny at all, and he does his little jokes here that are just not funny, and it's gonna make you cringe. So hopefully we don't Roblox ourselves before the video ends.
The wife of MLK actually gave his letters and all of his writings to somebody at Stanford, and he specifically formed MLK in a way that would be palatable. So he cut out all of the stuff that's
all
negative,
the rough edges.
Right. All the rough edges. So that's why we have and he advocated for the MLK Day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Everything we're about to share with you comes directly from congressional records, archived newspapers, MLK's own speeches. And I know the FBI is not an organization that I trust. Okay, I want to be very clear. However, none of the evidence that we'll be providing for you here has actually been refuted by anyone in the MLK camps.
Yeah, they just don't like how they obtained it.
Right. It was surveillance transcripts that were reported by a guy named David Garrow. But he also, this is the biographer. He obtained these transcripts from the FBI. He was the official biographer on MLK. He won the 97
And what he's
Pulitzer
talking
Prize.
about right now is
This
the
is a
thing
man who was
that
very pro.
I can.
Did I say?
It can
You said
be challenged.
87.
87.
Yeah.
And the FBI surveillance audio will be released in 2027. I don't know why they picked that year. I have no idea.
Specific year?
Later, you know. They're like, oh, crap, it's getting closer.
So here's something that you probably know that MLK, for example, let's start with this. Supported peaceful protest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is true. Sometimes. He also had some pretty, I guess you could say, unsavory opinions about riots that I do think need to be considered because a lot of people don't know this part.
And continue to say to my brothers and sisters that
This is based.
this
What
is
MLK
not
says
the
right
way.
here is mega based.
Continue to affirm that there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which cause persons to feel that they must engage in riotous activities as it is for me to condemn riots.
I agree with everything thus far.
I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air.
True.
Certain conditions continue to exist in our society,
100%.
which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard.
Yes, it is 100%. And it's funny how Steven Crowder just does. He said he doesn't agree with what MLK said here. And I really agree what he said right here. The riot's a language of the unheard. Really agree with that. And also about how we need to condemn riots the same way we need to condemn what's called the institution and the system that puts people down the same way we condemn riots. I really like what he said there too. But of course, Steven Crowder does not like that because Steven Crowder is a racist idiot.
What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years.
Why? How is it hate speech? I don't understand how it's hate speech. Is it supposed to be a joke? If it was, it's not funny. It's not
To
funny.
hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo. And as long as America...
Oh, I like how he cut it there. What he said was about to be gold. How white moderates would rather have an unjust peace than a... what's the actual quote? Than a loud justice or something justice, you know, if you know what I'm saying.
postpones justice. We stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again.
See, and that's the problem, is the open-endedness to it because, well, what is justice? Well, right now people are saying, oh, injustice is there are too many Asians at Stanford. So let's burn down a Walgreens.
They need to be more specific than
you need to be a little more
Who's saying that? Who's saying there's too many Asians at Stanford and they're gonna burn down Walgreens because of that? No one said that. I never even heard that before. Who's saying that?
specific, and let me be clear too, at another 1967 speech, and we'll get to the crack whores, and we'll get to the orgies, we'll get to all of that, which a lot of you don't know about.
He said crack whores. I want to understand this, that when did MLK die? He died in 1968, all right? When was crack invented? Crack came around in the late 1984 to 1985. Crack didn't even exist when MLK was alive. So when he says MLK slept with crack whores, in his mind, this is his racist mind saying that MLK is black, therefore crack is associated with black people, so therefore, you know, black equals crack, and then a crack whores. That's how he got it in his mind.
MLK. 5 things you don't know about MLK. Bet you didn't expect to hear MLK and crack whores.
What?
Today. I have a dream of 9 crack whores at a Motel 6.
Nope. No.
I don't think crack existed.
You wouldn't go Motel 6.
So if you hear that, if you go back,
Crack whores at a Motel 6.
Nope. No.
I don't think crack existed.
You wouldn't go
even one of his fucking side buddies over here says, I don't even think crack even existed back in the 1960s. So even he's like, okay, this motherfucker is taking off his max way too hard. He's showing his racist side way too hard in this.
Motel 6.
I'm probably not.
Yeah,
just
Motel 8.
just whores in general then. So a 67 speech, King said, urban riots are a special form of violence. They are not insurrections. Disagree.
True, they're not insurrections.
Said the rioters are not seeking to seize territory to attain control of institutions, which today they are. That's their stated goal.
No, it's not. What we want right now is to not abolish. I know a lot of people don't abolish the police. I don't really 100% agree with that. I'm more I do want the budget for police to go down, and I do want more social workers to go up. So when it comes to if there's a person with a mental health crisis going on, police don't even know how to handle that. So a social worker who is specifically trained to handle those situations will come by. That is I really, really enjoy, and that's not taking over institutions. Maintaining control of institutions.
They are mainly intended to shock the white community. The looting enables the most enraged and deprived, using his word here, Negro to take hold of consumer goods with the ease the white man does by using his purse. This goes on a lot. If you look at some of his statements regarding riots and regarding violent protest.
Yeah.
Hold on, what's the other one? Often Negro does not even, then it, I wonder why they cut out. The policymakers of the white society has caused the darkness. They create discrimination. True. They structure slums. True. And they perpetrate unemployment. True. Ignorance and poverty. It is uncontestable and deplorable that Negroes have committed crimes, but they are derived crimes. They are born of the greater crimes of the white society. And when we ask Negroes to abide by law, they let us also determine that. But what he's saying here is that the reason why black people in this country are overrepresented in crimes and in prisons is because of the way the government has treated them. You know, they put them in the worst parts of cities. They take away their businesses. You know, they gentrify them. They put in crime specifically used to hurt them when it comes to crack cocaine with powdered cocaine. You know, crack cocaine, you go into jail a lot longer than powdered cocaine. And then when it comes to the war on drugs as well, when a black person gets caught using marijuana and he has like the same record as a white person getting caught with marijuana, the same marijuana as well, they don't have, this is their first arrest, both of them. The black person would get more time in prison than a white person. This is what he's talking about.
You look at some of his statements regarding riots and regarding violent protest.
Yeah.
It's worse than I thought. I thought he kind of both sides it. He actually more often encouraged violent protesting than he discouraged it. And that is probably disappointing to a lot of people.
Yeah, he's making excuses for people basically losing their minds. Look, I get it. There was so much.
Yeah, I get it. You know, you weren't treated as people. You know, you couldn't use good water fountains. You couldn't use the best education. You know, you had to use the worst situation. You couldn't sit with white people. I get it. You know, and then we white people lynch you. You know, pretty much a lot of the times you couldn't do nothing to fight back. I get it, but you know, just don't riot. You know, just get over it. That's pretty much what he's saying right now.
I have no idea how I would feel, but I probably wouldn't then.
I guarantee this motherfucker would hate MLK. He'll be one of the motherfuckers lynching people.
And go and burn down or rob a local store owned by other black people in my community.
Right.
And I would never justify it and say, well, it is just as easy as a white man using his purse. Well, first of all, men and purses, this was beginning of the...
I'm talking about Europe, Gerald A.
It's not a European man bag, Stephen. All right?
Well, it seems that he doesn't clarify, or he's flip-flops, because there is another interview where he specifically says that riots are against the black community, because then the same thing that we've said before in 2020.
You can say the riots are against the black community, but you can also say just condemning riots will not fix riots. There'll be more riots if all you do is just condemn riots. No, you need to fix the issue. You need to fix a problem that causes the riots. That's how you fix it.
It destroys their own community, and it does the opposite of what you want it to do. And he says you can kill a murderer, but you can't kill murder.
Well, Pops Sprouters here, the Detroit riots, which you were alive for, that really hurt the white man, right, in his purse.
We didn't feel it at all.
No. But yeah, he needs to. Whenever he says stuff like that, he should have.
This is peak conservative comedy. I just want you to know that. Peak conservative comedy, and you guys are laughing. That's a real good knee slapper right there.
Combined it with what he said later in a different interview. Yeah, it hurts the black community to do this, and then say they do this because they're being oppressed.
You know what must be condemned just as vigorously is the harming of your own community. That's what needs to be condemned just as vigorously. Think of the Detroit riots. Yeah, and then they blamed what? white flight, Detroit riots. Like, well, first off, that's not what happened. Second, you burned down your.
First off, that is a good reason why that happened, and another reason was because the automotive industry was cheaper to set it overseas. So that's A, that's capitalism, and B, that's a problem with capitalism, and B, that is a problem with white flight.
Your own communities in Detroit, black people were harmed, and you know who got the worst end of that stick was black police officers. They had to go home in unmarked cars because they were being picked off by snipers on rooftops.
Right.
Funny how you think we care about pigs. All right, we don't give a fuck about pigs over here.
You cannot find examples of riots in from the 1970s onward that were targeted specifically, let's say, against just white people, which would be racist, but at least would just make maybe sense. No, it ends up hurting people in their own community, and that needs to be condemned just as vigorously. Oh, well, we don't find that writing. Maybe it's because you were too busy with number 2 when we're talking about things that you may not have known about MLK. Worked with communists.
Yeah.
What's wrong with working with communists? I thought there was freedom of speech. I thought you can work with whoever you want. What's bad about working about communism? Well, let's see if he gets us a good answer. Which, spoiler, he does not.
Very closely, and I don't mean that in the sort of sense where people are like, pinko commie. I mean, one of his top advisors was a guy named Stanley Levison. Okay, and he was a member of the Communist Party until 1956, and he secretly gave MLK Jr. $10,000 just 1 year after meeting him.
That's a lot of thousands.
Yeah, adjusted to today's dollars, that'd be about $87,000.
Wow, that's a big donation.
That's a lot more.
I didn't know I didn't know we cared about who invested in you. You know, you got a lot of other people, because a lot of people were angry about Scott Cawthon, who was the one investing into Donald Trump's whole, election run. You know, and a lot of people were angry at him, and a lot of conservatives were backing. If you don't know who Scott Cawthon is he's the guy who created Five Nights at Freddy's, and a lot of people were defending him, saying that, oh, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter if you helped raise money for a person's election run, you know, you just it's freedom of speech and shit.
Thousands, and I thought
Seems like an odd number, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to give
Inflation.
you $87,000.
Can't you round this shit to 90? I have a dream.
I have a dream to have a big purse.
Yes. All you
Just
white,
like the one, man.
white devils with your Gucci's and your Michael Kors.
Shock demon.
Oh, I kind of want to end the video right now. Holy shit, this comedy is so bad. It's so bad. This is why he's a failed comedian, because no one laughed at his stand-up. It was like Joker. Have you ever seen the movie fucking Joker? Is when Joker went up to do his stand-up, no one was laughing.
Everywhere I go.
And your Louis Vuittons, I have a dream.
Now this whole show is his Joker moment.
So FBI counter-agent Carl Prussian, and again, this is from the biography, just to be clear. So I know that the FBI isn't always a reliable source, but they did tap White.
See, and that was it? Was that it?
Which I think is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
However, we also have to acknowledge the facts and reality as it relates to MLK's life. You see a progression of him becoming more and more radical. Some people argue it's because of drug use. Some people argue it's just fame is corrosive to the human soul. But he wasn't the guy who a lot of people praise. Sort of like I've talked about this with Muhammad Ali. It's the flip side, where people with Muhammad Ali don't realize that Muhammad Ali, who was a draft dodger, who was a known
draft dodger, based. You know, if you dodge drafts, you're a hero.
Racist who was against intermarrying.
That is true. However, later on, like he said, the reason why he believed that because he was in the Nation of Islam, which the Nation of Islam is conservative, is not left leaning. They are a conservative, and I don't like the Nation of Islam at all. They're not good, and that's the reason why I didn't like Malcolm X when he was younger, because he was part of that. But when he got older, he realized the error of his ways, and he got way more based, you know. And Malcolm X was a socialist as well. So that's the thing I really like about Malcolm X.
Against race mixing.
This Nation of Islam, not good.
Later on in his life, actually moved out to the suburbs and not only supported Ronald Reagan, campaigned for white Mormon.
That is true. He did support Ronald Reagan. Like I said, no man is perfect. Nobody's perfect. And that's a big stain in his career. Pelosi gonna retire after midterm loss. Man, I don't know too much about Nancy Pelosi, but I don't really care for her that much. Honestly, she's a liberal. I hope if she does lose, a person more left leaning than her actually wins the seat, which I don't think will happen.
Orrin Hatch.
Oh, wow.
It's funny how these conservatives are coming to my chat, putting up random shit and think I'm being triggered by it. Like, I don't give a fuck about Pelosi. Okay, see, listen. Fuck Pelosi. Fuck her husband. Fuck her dog. Fuck her sons. Fuck her daughter. And fuck her. All right, that's how I feel about Pelosi. Though I like her more than Republicans. But that's my thoughts on Pelosi.
But no one talks about that with Muhammad Ali. People change. If you change the wrong way, you'll notice there's a span of Muhammad Ali's life where he really wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't given the same kind of shine. And then, of course, when he died, we go back to when he was young.
One thing that I really like about Muhammad Ali and what he did in the future was that he actually campaigned for the freeing of Palestine. He actually really wanted Palestine to be free and out of Israel's hands, which is something Steven Crowder does not bring up. Probably because he is for Israel and he doesn't like Palestine.
When he would say he was young and naive and ignorant. How about once he grew up and apologized for the race baiting and calling Joe Frazier a house Negro and an Uncle Tom? And he said, I shouldn't have done that, and called Sonny Liston a big, ugly gorilla. This is what Muhammad Ali would do with people. He said, I was wrong, and I moved out to the suburbs because I didn't want to be in those communities anymore because I have children.
It's funny how you think that's a point for him, but no, that's a point for me because it shows that the system and it puts poor people into a poor neighborhood and bad neighborhood, and you actually have to like fight your way out of it in order to, you know, live a good life or have your children live a good life because of the institutions we have and make people live like fucking poor lives in the beginning of their lives. You know, they have no choice. That's where they're born in, and we definitely need to fix that problem.
Yeah,
Malcolm X, same thing. Later in his life, he rethought his violence attack.
He's bringing up Malcolm X
rhetoric.
You see Steven Crowder, the way he's looking, he was like, "Why the fuck are you bringing up Malcolm X for?" Because that's points for me. I do when Malcolm X was younger, he was a conservative. He was with the Nation of Islam. Did not care for Malcolm X when he was younger. However, again, when he was older, you know, and he actually went to what was it called? I watched the Malcolm X movie. What's it called? That one place where Muslims go and pray, and he saw there's like white Muslims, brown Muslims, black Muslims all praying together and, you know, having a good time, vibing out with each other, and then he changed his minds on that. That's when Malcolm X became one of the most based persons in America and definitely in the world, and I'll actually say that's the main reason why Nation of Islam killed him with the help of the FBI.
He's like, I don't think that was the right way to go, and
because he's looking at him, you see, he's like, "Why you bring up Malcolm X? That's a point against us."
Being connected,
they don't like Malcolm X.
The Muslim Church, who killed him,
the Muslim Brotherhood, right? But
with the FBI definitely helped kill Malcolm X.
That's not good.
It doesn't give you what you want, right? So, Darren, how many white people looked at the Detroit riots and were like, "Oh, you know what? They're probably right." Yeah, I totally understand. How many people from the other side were brought to their cause and like given a chance to see what was going on?
Well, they had to see it through binoculars.
Well, that's true. What about the riots in Los Angeles? Not the first time, but the second time that they
Sweetie, I believe they're burning down Indian Village. There's a bunch of screaming.
He has the whole squad laughing.
Gay man, I don't know.
It doesn't bring people to your cause.
No, of course not.
People hate your cause because you're tearing down the city.
Well, MLK became more, so it's the flip side. He became more radical, and so he's venerated. Whereas when Muhammad Ali became more reasonable, they just sort of ignored him for a while. So FBI counteragent Carl Prussian wrote in a sworn affidavit to Congress, I further swear and attest that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was always set forth as the individual to whom communists should look and rally around in the communist struggle on the many racial issues. I hereby also state that Martin Luther King Jr. has either been a member of or wittingly has accepted support from over 60 communist fronts, individuals, and or organizations which give aid to or espouse communist causes. Number 3.
I like how he's doing this, and he's like making Malcolm X, not Malcolm X, MLK. Oh, he was down for communism. He was only like down for communism, which he wasn't. Malcolm X had a very mixed reaction to communism because, again, Malcolm X was a Christian, garbage, ill, gross, get the fuck out of here. And that's one of the big reasons why he doesn't like communism. But also, as well, he's trying to cancel Malcolm X only because he was affiliated with communists, and that's it. You know, what's up with the freedom of speech? As you say, conservatives always, you know, like whenever someone says anything negative about conservatives, they always say, "Oh, you're taking away my freedom of speech, my freedom of speech." But here it comes and trying to take away and cancel MLK for MLK using his freedom of speech. So it's very, very ironic.
3 things that might surprise you about MLK. Not only witnessed a rape, didn't do anything about it.
Now, I will say, if this is true, but we don't know, I don't have evidence against this, but we'll know for certain once 2027 comes out.
Wow. 1964, MLK watched as his friend, a Baptist minister, Logan, is it Kearse or Kiersey? I don't know how to pronounce it. Raped a woman at the Willard Hotel in D.C. A lot of you know this, a lot of people don't. Notes from David Garrow, again, this is the biographer, and the FBI surveillance docs show, which will be released in 2027.
Yep.
The group met in his Kearse's hotel room and discussed which women among the parishioners would be suitable for natural or unnatural sex acts. When one of the women protested that she did not approve of this, the Baptist minister immediately and forcibly raped her. Quoted directly from the FBI notes, surveillance notes, King looked on, laughed, and offered advice.
That's unbelievable. And by the way, just to be clear, the audio tapes will be released in 2027. These notes right now, and this is what the author said, because he's taken...
Yeah, so I have this. I looked this up right now. We have this insider article talking about that. According to The Times, an article written by a King biographer, David Garrow, and set to be published in June edition of the UK magazine Standpoint details newly released FBI memos that discusses the tapes. The tapes sealed until 2027, so we don't know for certain if this is true or this is real or not until 2027. In a U.S. National Archives hold recordings from bugs placed in hotel rooms King used in 1960s when they suspected his aide Stanley Levison was a communist. Again, FBI, cringe. Get the fuck out of here, FBI. The King Center declined to comment on the report. The tapes were made as part of an FBI surveillance project that began in 1955 and continued until King was assassinated in 1968, according to Stanford's Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute. The FBI was trying to gather negative information about King in hopes to use it to discredit him. Former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover was personally motivated to bring down King, according to the Institute. Given the context and given Garrow's lack of access to the tapes themselves, in addition to the fact that Standpoint article has not yet been published, Garrow's claims raise questions about the accuracy of the evidence and the motives of the FBI agents who created documents. In a separate article describing the magazine rationale for publishing the story, Standpoint's acting editor, Michael Mossbacher, said Garrow's work was previously rejected by The Guardian, The Atlantic, and Washington Post. A number of unnamed conservative magazines in the U.S. also shed away. Mossbacher does not explain why they rejected it, although he implies it felt it was too controversial, which I could see The Guardian, The Atlantic, and Washington Post doing because of that reason. However, a number of named conservative magazines, I do not believe. I feel like they would jump in a heartbeat if they saw that this was actually actually has evidence, like big evidence of this claim. But however, this says over here. But I will say, if this is true, if this is real, don't like it. I don't like MLK did that horrible thing. This is one thing that's close to owning slaves, but I will say owning slaves is worse than doing this. Quite a bit worse as well, but this is like really bad, and I definitely do not like if this is true. However, we won't know for certain until 2027. So him putting up this 5 things you didn't know as like facts, we don't know if this is a fact yet. We need to wait for this. And this was written in May 28, 2019.
And all kinds of flack for it. Nobody is challenging the legitimacy of the claims. They're just saying they bugged it. There was the biggest FBI.
Well, I just read an article back in 2019 that challenged the claims a little bit.
Use of power they've ever seen, because they bugged him and he didn't know, and they bugged everything, and then they started releasing things to try to get this factual information that they had into the right hands so they could smear King. That was it. Not that it was lies.
Right.
You can go to the National Archives right now. Anybody with an internet connection can go and look this up. It is public.
Well, we have the links available.
Yep,
too.
and you have to deal with it.
LoudEarthCutter.com, all references available. I mean, offering advice on a rape is almost shocking.
I never knew
say
that.
so.
Yeah, and he had daughters too. That's a horrible, horrible
That's
thing.
a terrible thing.
It's funny how they're giving it 40 years from the date of the article, 87, right? They figure he can shine for 40, and then we're going to bring facts out.
Yeah.
It's all going to be available in 2027.
Well, if we're tearing down statues, there's a big MLK thing that we should probably go take a look at in Washington.
I don't look.
I'm not saying tear
I
it
don't know
down.
if it's as bad as Abe Lincoln, who fought against slavery. You got to tear that down.
Well,
but the
yeah,
man
yeah,
who
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
no, get up on, turn her around. See.
Well, it's not like Roosevelt where he had the
Wait, is he like an old ass fucking white man in 1920s? Because that's how they talk. The hell. And again, Abraham Lincoln didn't think black people were equals to white people.
in positions of power, a Native American and a black person with him.
This guy had her in positions of rape.
Well, that's not power.
Well, some say it's a crime of power.
It's a
Well,
little bit.
that's yeah.
It's not so much a crime of power, so much a crime that I want to have sex and she didn't.
How do you make a statue of that?
Well, it
No.
requires a lot of iron, a lot of smelting.
If he were to come alive today,
Skilled artisans.
This
to come
peak
alive today
comedy,
to
ha
his
ha,
dream, which
making
is
me
what
laugh, ha
people
ha
focus
ha.
on, he would
Peak
say, "We're here."
comedy.
This is it. Exactly what I imagined.
Well, no,
We
Why
were
are you
here,
guys
and then we
complaining?
passed it.
Then we
No,
went back.
he would say, yeah, exactly. In the 90s, we were here.
My-
We
my
got
dream-
there in the 90s.
My dream was never to play the victim card in perpetuity, and that's what we have today.
Well, we also have the next one. So if he were alive today, I mean, he participated in massive orgies, which he would have loved.
What's bad about participating in massive orgy? I just saw that advancement of pussy eaters. That's funny. That's funny. Anyways, what's wrong with orgies? If everybody there is consenting, what's wrong with it? You know, a bunch of adults is fucking. You know, what's wrong with orgies? There's nothing wrong with orgies other if everybody's consenting.
Loved TikTok.
Man knows how to party.
What's up with TikTok? Are there a lot of orgies in TikTok? I don't know. I don't watch TikTok, so that I don't know that joke.
Touche.
Man knows how to party.
Just would have loved the talk. The following night, this is after, I believe, the rape, in which he offered play-by-play color commentary. MLK and his friend participated in a sex orgy with...
Why do they keep flashing it and deflashing it? At the Wheeler Hotel, King and his friends' activities re-summed the following events with approximately 12 individuals participated in the sex orgy, which the prudish Sullivan felt included acts of degeneracy and depravity. When one of the women shed away from engaging in an unnatural act, King and several of the men discussed how she was to be taught and initiated in this respect. King told her that to perform such an act would help your soul. Damn, I was saying, King got some game. Sometime later, the language that would reflect just how narrow Sullivan's mindset was, King announced that he would prefer to perform unnatural acts on women that he had started the National Association for the Advancement of Pussy Eaters. Anyone filled with King's awfully broadly censored humor is not doubt in that quotation. But it does not say he said up to her and said that it would help your soul. However, it does not say that he actually A, raped her, or B, he had sex with her, or C, or if she's just like, oh man, that line was dope, let us fuck now. But it doesn't say that right here. So right now there's nothing wrong that he did here.
About 12 people, approximately 12 people. How do you have an approximate number?
yeah.
If I'm at an orgy,
It's hard to count. There's so
I would
many
have an
artists.
exact head count.
It's like the grid system when you're doing crowd estimation.
Hey, that sounded like a good time. MLK definitely had a good ass time there.
You just 5 feet by 5 feet and then just kind of guess.
What do I do with count them as 1.5? Twins, if they're Siamese, it's 1. If they're separated, we will count them as 1.5 people.
It's pretty musty in here.
What?
Yeah.
The smell must have been bad. You're right.
When one woman shied away from engaging in unnatural sex act, King and others discussed how to initiate her, and he told her the act would, quote, help her soul. Well, that's a clever.
I don't think that's true.
He also
That's
no,
a
it
game.
did happen,
That
but
was
it
some
didn't
game.
help her
That's a
soul.
good
The
ad
advice,
bars.
I don't
That's
think
bars
is true.
right there.
I mean,
That might be
I have
incorrect.
something that will soothe your soul. Is it the word of God? Not exactly. Better have a drink first. MLK also participated in another orgy in Las Vegas with a friend, a prostitute, and the gospel singer Clara Ward. Oh,
What? It's
well.
Las Vegas. Why do we know about this? It's supposed to stay there. Come on.
Well, because she sang about it. Yeah, the gospel was like, "Oh, happy day! I had
What a
sex with
snitch.
MLK." He's like, "Shut up, bitch! Shut up!"
Garrett, you're right. The biggest point of
What
it
is going
on?
that things don't actually stay in Vegas.
The next day, he's given a sermon, and of course, as we all know as Christians, we are to keep our mouths mouths silent.
Shut.
As it relates to secrets or events that have happened in Vegas. We have
I'm gonna Roblox myself. Holy shit, I'm gonna commit sewer slide right now if he just doesn't shut the fuck up and go to the next thing. Holy shit, I'm about to. Ooh.
solemnly sworn that it will stay in Vegas. Right,
I'm not
Clara?
living
Right,
till tomorrow
bitch,
if this keeps going on. In a
My
video
soul
game.
doesn't feel so. I didn't promise. No money back. Now, he, King and Ward watched King's friend Evan, of course, with LaRue, Gail LaRue. LaRue told the FBI investigator that was the worst orgy I've ever gone through.
Wait. How much?
There's a sliding orgy scale.
Question here.
Was that a 1-star orgy rating? What is this?
Investigator, that was the worst orgy. LaRue, Gail LaRue.
Okay, let's see what he
King and
says
Ward
here.
watched King's friend Evan, of course, with LaRue, Gail LaRue. LaRue told the FBI investigator that was the worst orgy I've ever gone through.
Wait. How much? Orgy rating? What is this?
So they had consensual sex, and she was like, "Nah, them motherfuckers can't fuck," and that's it.
What's the Yelp review here?
Yeah.
I would never go back for another orgy there.
Would not
To
recommend.
experience.
Does not seem
for sure.
that bad at all.
That's the last time I go to that orgy.
Yeah. There were whips and stuff. I'm not into it.
It's just too much. It was
Again,
just too it was just
What's
too
wrong about being
orgy-ish.
in an orgy? There's nothing
It
wrong
wasn't even
about
good
it.
food.
And here's the that's the strip club.
The
They have
buffet
a
was
fantastic
terrible.
buffet and a wonderful sneeze shield.
Watched after Gail stated that it seemed like hours. King rolled off and the King had intercourse with Gail while Clara watched after what Gail had stated seemed like hours. King rolled off and had another drink and climbed back on for a second go around. After King paused again, his friend showed up and had a drink. They had intercourse with Gail while both Clara Ward and Rev King watched the actions from a close by position, with Clara sometimes stroking Gail as well. Gail then stated, then it cuts off. Okay. Ben wrote that Gail stated to the investigator that was the worst orgy ever gone through, and added that she had declined a subsequent request from Clara Ward to get together again. Okay, it doesn't say she didn't consent to this, though. She just said she didn't have a good time.
I tested it. Also, I don't know if you know this. Surprise. MLK Jr. was a black man.
Really?
Yes, he was black. This is another little bit of a swerve. Just in case. Well, because I know the videos are black and white.
Thought he was gray.
Yeah, well, black and white. So that's why I know it's tough. You know what's
Speaking of that, when you ever look up MLK, all the photographies, or most of them, except for this one right here, are in black and white. You know, even though when he was alive and when he was doing this, colored cameras were around for a while, and a lot of people say this is the reason why they did this is because when it shows in black and white, it puts subconsciously in your mind that this happened a long time ago. Because if you see him in this picture right here, you know, this doesn't look that old of a picture. It looks like it's taking place in the 90s, or it could be taking place in the 90s. It doesn't look that old. But when you look at this picture, it feels like it was taken in 1920s.
actually fascinating. If you go back and watch young Joe Louis, and sorry, Joe Louis is here, not you. Young Joe Louis, the fighter, he looks like a white guy.
Oh.
In some of them, the way they color correct it, because he'd be fighting like Jersey Joe Walcott or something, and a black guy looks darker, and you just look at him, and he had the hair kind of parted to the side.
Yeah.
You're like, where's Joe Louis? Behind that white man?
Are there
I don't know
Joe
boxing.
Lewis's?
Like
This
that.
is not brought to you in Technicolor, but he was black. And here's the thing, despite all of these little known facts about MLK, I want to be very clear. This is about consistency. This is about if you're going to tear down statues because of something that you deem offensive, because people lived an imperfect life, then you would have to apply it to someone who took part in rapes,
Took part in rapes is not 100% confirmed to this day, not until 2027. If 2027 happens and it turns out to be true, then we can have a conversation about it. Then for right now, we can't really give it as 100%.
someone who was taking parts in orgies, to someone
Taking parts in orgies, there's nothing wrong with that.
who was misleading about working with communists, right?
What's wrong with working with
This
communists?
is something that we have to be consistent about. Now, I don't think...
Again, he's trying to equivocate those things and try to make it seem like MLK is just as bad as a person who had slaves, who beat their slaves, who probably raped their slaves, and didn't see a large group of people as people. They didn't see him as like that to that person. So again, it's just a racist attitude that you're trying to make a person who everybody looks up to make it seem as bad as another person who did horrible things in their lives.
Think that we can't actually continue to espouse the words that MLK espoused in his most famous speech, where he was talking about the content of character. I think that there are values there that are worthwhile, that are worth pursuing. And as a matter of fact, I think today the Black Lives Matter community and the woke left community who enable them would be well served to heed the words of his speeches as opposed to his.
There you go. Okay, so he said we should be well served to heard the well of his speeches. So let's read some of his speeches, all right? So this is a quote from his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? And let's see if the left or the right, if he's talking about people right here, and who's following it, and who is this for. Yet the average white person also has a responsibility. He has to resist the impulse to seize upon the rioter as the exclusive villain. You know, something that Steven Crowder has been doing the entire video. He has to rise up with indignation against his own state and national governments to demand that the necessary reforms to be institutionalized. Institute. Why was my brain was not working? Which alone will protect him. If he reserves his resentment only for the Negro, he will be the victim by allowing those who have the greatest culpability to evade responsibility. Social justice and progress, social justice and progress are the absolute gardeners of riot prevention. There are no other answer. Constructive social change will bring certain tranquility. Evasion will merely encourage turmoil, which is what Steven Crowder and a lot of white moderates and especially Republicans are trying to do. Negroes hold only one key to the double lock of peaceful change. The other is in the hand of the white community. And let's read some more, all right? In the days ahead, we must not consider it unpatriotic to raise basic questions about our national character. And what do we hear every time a Black Lives Matter speaker speaks up about the injustice that they have felt in this country? Republicans and conservatives always rise up and say that they are unpatriotic and that they hate America. So, and then power at its best is love implementing and demands of justice. Justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love. Okay, whites, it must frankly be said, are not putting in similar mass effort to re-educate themselves out of the racial ignorance. You know what this is? If Martin Luther King said this right now, Steven Crowder will call it critical race theory. You know, this is what this is right now. That's what he'll call it. So as you can see, we are following what MLK has set out to do and wanting people to set out to do. Steven Crowder is just lying right now. He's just straight up lying. He has not read a single book by MLK, a single speech by MLK. I'm pretty sure he probably even hasn't heard all of the I Am a Dream speech by MLK. This man knows nothing about MLK, yet he's trying to tell other people to be like MLK more. And this video has been nothing but talking trash about MLK. So don't tell us to follow him when you yourself do not like him.
Imperfect life. But even when we're talking about his speeches, if to the Pops Crowder's points, if MLK Jr. were alive today and had to give a speech that would get thunderous applause from today's left, it would have to be a very different speech.
I would like to say before he starts with this, we are going to watch this. But however, I would like to say be careful when it comes to the next few seconds of the video. Be careful, because you might not live from this. You might die of cringe. All right, I will try to hold your hand through this. We'll try to get through it together, but it's gonna be very difficult. But you know, just hope that you'll get through this.
I have a dream that my 4 gender-neutral children will not live in a nation where they are judged by outdated norms like their character.
Oh my God.
Exclusively by the color of his or her Z-skin. I have a dream today.
This whole fucking segment of this video and like this whole video we're talking about right here, I've seen this a lot of times in my life, but a lot of like white people specifically haven't seen this. You know what this is? This is classic racism. When you're talking about new racism that's going on right now, a lot of new racism will be black people are more dangerous than white people because of their crime statistics, and they have and they say, oh, I don't know how to fix it, they just are. That's new racism. This right now is classic racism. This right here is just pointing at people of color and just laughing at them just because they're people of color. This is it. That's what minstrel shows was, and this is what he's doing right now. It's just a minstrel show.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. Fact checkers have determined this to be potentially harmful and misleading information. I have a dream that
what doesn't make any sense.
And little white children will stand 6 feet apart at a pride parade.
He's literally going through every talking point at all. It's just not cohesive at all. So it makes it more. This makes it worse. So I'm pretty sure he only took like 2 seconds to write this, and that's it.
To learn critical race theory over Zoom, while dissenting teachers are fired for things they said online 6 years ago and are taken out of context. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of science.
When I like how you put that in, when this whole video was, trying to cancel Martin Luther King for the past shit he done, what it was, 1960s. I'm not gonna say a long time ago, because there's people alive to today that were alive when this speech was going on. So I'm not gonna say a long time ago or when he was alive, but you're trying to cancel a dead man. That's what he's doing.
Children, yes, when all of science's children will be able to sing with new meaning. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. So let Cheatham ring from the tent cities of Los Angeles.
This is the most racist shit of this whole video, of what he says, how Martin Luther King speaks when he says let freedom ring. He says let Cheatham ring. I don't think you know what? Let's look this up. Let's see. I guarantee he actually pronounces it let's freedom ring. I don't think he ever says anything close to Cheatham ring. All right.
I have the pleasure to present.
I am happy to join with you. 5 score.
Hold up. He said freedom.
In the history of our, as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history.
For freedom. He pronounces it very well. He says freedom. All right. You can hear him say freedom. And over here, Steven Crowder's making fun of him by saying Cheatham. That's the most racist shit I have seen in this video.
Let Cheatham ring from the safe spaces of Brooklyn. Let Cheatham ring from the tech firms of Silicon Valley. Yes, all right. Let Cheatham ring from the branches of Santa Monica. But not only that. When we let Cheatham ring from every drum circle at Oberlin and from every remaining Apple store in Portland, we will be able to speed up the day when all of God's pronouns, POCs and bi-POCs, Latinx persons and Chicon-X, yeah, the asexual and the aromantic, allosexual and the autosexual, queers and the gender queers, the LGBTQ, the LGBTQIA, the LGBTQIA+, the LGBTQIA+, $, eggplant emoji, Neptunic and the Trixic,
peak
the
comedy.
Sometimes questioning and the two-spirited, yes. We'll be able to join.
I'm hurting right now. I'm hurting so much. This is Steven Crowder. If it's Steven Crowder, would be back in the day. He's just looking like this guy and being like, man, we should have never give these Negroes money. That's what you'd be saying.
Words of the old spiritual. Stay home. Yes, stay safe. Thank science almighty. Stay home. Stay safe. Spirit fingers, please.
And that's the entire video. And I hope I am alive. I believe I am alive. I did not die of cringe just then. So I hope that you guys didn't die of cringe as well. But that's pretty much the entire video of him talking about MLK. And what did we learn here? We learned conservatives never like MLK. They just pretended to. And if Martin Luther King Jr. was alive to this day, they would hate him just like they hated him in the past. They would hate him just as much today because we haven't really improved on the things that Martin Luther King Jr. wanted done after the Civil Rights Act was passed. Just like over here, if you want to learn what he wanted to get done, read this book or read some of these quotes, because a lot of these quotes are really, really, really good. But yeah, again, would hate Martin Luther King if he was alive today, and if he was out there protesting today, they'll call him a terrorist. They'll call him a agitator. They'll call him a hateful person. They'll say that he hates white people, just like they said him in the past. And just like, what did it say about history? You know, history repeats itself. It rhymes like poetry. And I don't know if it's a good thing that conservatives are now coming out and like actually saying that they dislike Martin Luther King, because I've been seeing that more and more. Because in the past they had to bite the bullet and say that they like Martin Luther King, but right now I'm seeing more of a backlash. I'm seeing a lot more people saying that Martin Luther King Jr. was a mixed bag, saying that he wasn't that great when it comes to conservatives. So that's a good thing for us, because that shows that we have something to show to them. You know, we can be like, we were protesting like that, and like, oh, you guys don't like Martin Luther King, but look at the things he accomplished, and what he did was great. But the bad thing about that is that it'll radicalize more people to conservatives and make more people more hateful, because they are more mask off. And what does it say? The death of the euphemism. There we go. I finally said it. Will die here and actually make things more dangerous for left-leaning people and people of color. So that's a double-bladed sword that we can definitely use to our advantage, and we need to use it in our advantage, because if we don't, then it will just radicalize more people to the right and make more people more hateful. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this whole situation. And Steven Crowder, hope he gets banned off YouTube. Hope he gets banned off Twitch and any other platform. Hopefully, no one will remember him. No one will ever laugh at his jokes. Well, that's already happening now, but more people would not remember him at all. And the only reason I'm saying this is because he wants to cancel Martin Luther King. He wants Martin Luther King Jr. to be deplatformed because he worked with communists, you know. So I'm just, what did it say? Giving back the favor he's giving to Martin Luther King. But yeah, fuck Steven Crowder, like MLK, and yeah, that's all I gotta say. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment down below, and I'll see y'all later.